I'm Keith Olbermann, and this is The Resistance. When you lose Rupert Murdoch's son, James, have you lost America? Probably not. But how about when you lose James Murdoch and Carl Icahn? How about when you lose James Murdoch and Carl Icahn and the National Basketball Association champion Golden State Warriors, and the chairman of General Electric, and the CEO of Disney, and of J.P. Morgan Chase, and of 3M, and of Campbell Soup, and of Merck, and of Under Armour, and of Johnson & Johnson, and of Intel, and of BlackRock, and of Tesla, and the former CEO of Uber, and the president of the AFL-CIO, and the president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing, and all 16 members of the President's Committee on the Arts and the Humanities, and the Boy Scouts, and the American Red Cross fundraising gala scheduled for Mar-a-Lago, which they just decided to move elsewhere, and the American Cancer Society fundraising gala that they just moved out of Mar-a-Lago, and the Susan G. Komen Foundation Charity Gala, and the Morse Life Health Systems Charity Gala, and the Life Leaders in Furthering Education Gala, and the Autism Project of Palm Beach County Gala, and the Salvation Army Fundraiser, and the Palm Beach Zoo Gala, and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute Gala, and the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society Gala, and the Cleveland Clinic Gala, and the American Friends of Magen David Adom Gala, and the Baxham Palmer Eye Institute Gala, and the Preservation Foundation of Palm Beach Gala, and the Champ de Rotisseur Food and Wine Society Annual Dinner. Those are some of the charities, corporations, public figures, CEOs, presidential advisory committee members, and sports franchises that have backed away, in nearly all cases just since Trump's pathetic, amoral performance in the wake of Charlottesville, backed away from Donald John Trump. The cliche, "the rats are abandoning the sinking ship," does not apply here, but only because these people are not rats, and because they appear to have chartered a different ship so they could get off the SS Trump-tanic in an orderly and even stylish fashion. Consider the actor Kal Penn and the 15 other members of the President's Committee on the Arts and the Humanities, which Trump claimed he had dissolved right after they all quit. The resignation note the 16 of them signed consists of 5 paragraphs which begin with the words reproach, elevating, speaking, ignoring, and supremacy. The first letter of each paragraph, plus the first letter in thank you, spells out the word resist. That basketball team, the Golden State Warriors, they won their championship way back on the 12th of June. The team has yet to be invited to the White House, which is believed to be a first since Reagan was president, but which is probably a deft move, actually, because the Warriors star Steph Curry already says he would not go. And after Charlottesville, a very plugged-in San Francisco Chronicle columnist named Scott Osler writes that he believes no other player would go, and the team itself might even say no. But of course, the charity galas bailing out on Mar-a-Lago, and there were more than 20 scheduled, looks like there are around half a dozen left, including the Palm Beach GOP and the Eric Trump Foundation. They are the thing that will enrage Trump the most. None of this very public backing away slowly from the tire fire of this administration truly means anything for the life of a presidency. Polling suggests the hardline base for Trump perhaps actually likes him more after Charlottesville made him bare his soul, the soul of a murderous clown or a member of a hybrid party called the Republic Clans. But as seen with the CEOs and the charities, it is the stampede quality that can have an impact long term. It is called isolation. In the wake of the crowd rushing for the exits and presumably in fear that none of the attendees would show up, Trump bailed out of another presidential tradition, attending the Kennedy Center Honors Arts Awards and saluting the winners at the White House. An isolated president shunned by the public and real-life leaders in all fields and of all political stripes empowers those toadies of 21st century America, Republican politicians, to rebel, at least intermittently. The Republican Senator Corker of Tennessee basically called Trump unstable last week. Republican Senator Scott of South Carolina said Trump's moral authority is compromised. Trump's own government is showing signs of peeling away from him. What happened to the transgender ban in the military, the one that heads of several branches promptly repudiated? Trump keeps calling Russian electoral interference fake news. The vice president described the country speaking in a unified voice on sanctions against Russia for electoral interference. Trump repeated his now wearied, hackneyed bleat about reopening the investigation into the Hillary Clinton emails. The Deputy Attorney General promptly said nothing is being reopened. There have even been cracks in state-run propaganda. On Fox News, Charles Krauthammer took Trump apart over Charlottesville. He called his formal speech a, quote, hostage video. Another conservative hit Trump so hard on Fox she got death threats. And somebody is leaking the ugly details of Trump's people seemingly flat out paying for good coverage from Fox News types and their fellow travelers. The Washington Post managed to reveal that Fox talking head Mark Serrano is the owner of a firm that was reportedly paid $30,000 in consulting fees by Trump's 2020 reelection committee. And then there's Tucker Carlson, second only to Sean Hannity among Fox's flying monkeys, carrying the propaganda to an ever-shrinking right-wing TV audience. The Center for Media and Democracy discovered that the nutjob website that Carlson founded, called The Daily Caller, allegedly got $150,000 from the Trump campaign last year for email blasts, essentially getting paid by the Trump campaign while providing positive coverage of the Trump campaign. But again, does this really mean anything? A Quinnipiac poll early this month implied that even if Trump is proved to have conspired with Russia on the election, as many as 70% of Republicans really will not worry about it. Worse yet, another poll reports that if Trump claimed that he could not guarantee that only eligible American citizens would be voting, so the 2020 presidential election needs to be postponed, 52% of Republicans would go along with him. And if Congress agreed with his fraud and agreed with the suspension of the democracy on this flimsiest of excuses, 56% of Republicans would acquiesce to postpone the election. They won. They don't care how. They don't care how he plans to win again 3 years from now. But ultimately, the answer to the question, do any of the public repudiations and humiliations of Trump matter in the real world outside the Republican membership? That may be a qualified yes. There are signs that they do, in combination with more meaningful stuff like the seemingly slowing economy and this Nazi nightmare and China and Russia, the president's instability and Afghanistan. Not saying Steph Curry and the Palm Beach Zoo Gala are driving this, but the newest polling by Marist, covering the week of Trump's Charlottesville disaster, is eye-opening. His approval ratings in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin: 36% Michigan, 35% Pennsylvania, 34% Wisconsin. Which party's congressional candidate would you support? Democrats up by 13 Michigan, up by 10 Pennsylvania, up by 8 Wisconsin. Has Trump's conduct embarrassed you or made you proud? Michigan, 64 embarrassed, 28 proud. Pennsylvania, 63 embarrassed, 25 proud. Wisconsin, 64 embarrassed, 25 proud. Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, why those 3 states? Oh, yes. Those are the 3 states where a total of 77,000 votes swung the election from Clinton to Trump, where today he has approval from just barely over 1/3 of registered voters. See? It's not just the celebrities and the CEOs and the charities who are running away from a drowning president. Resist. Remove. Peace.